Hello, everybody. My name is Jose David Garcia, and I'm going to be discussing today on how experience in the workplace can lead to increased work overload. All right, so an introduction to the topic. Worker stress and negative employee attitudes and behaviors is what I looked upon for my paper. And worker stress is generally categorized as the stress that exists because the situations that occur within the work environment. One such common factor that causes worker stress is referred to as work overload. Work overload is the concept in which a specific job requests an excessive amount of task fulfillment carried out by the worker in consideration of speed, concentration, and their output. This results in the worker having to complete their necessities as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and producing as many quality results as they can. Results in a widely common source of stress, or is a widely source of stress through similarities born in how we physiologically respond to stressors. And this includes during periods of work overload, we might experience increased heart rate, things like that, in ways that ultimately affect our overall mental health and attitude towards working there at the location. So diving into the work-related issue itself in real life, some background information. Upon attending university in November of 2018, I applied to work at Old Navy, which is a retailing company that sells clothing and accessories and is owned by Gap Incorporated under an umbrella of family brands. I was hired under a seasonal position, meaning that I would only really be kept as long as they needed me for coverage for things like Black Friday or the holidays. And my job duties then included only really recovering the sales floor by refolding clothing onto fixtures, displays, helping customers with any inquiries or concerns or questions that they may have about items, where to find one, how to order one. And most importantly, one of the main things about this job was enrolling people into our loyalty programs, which included our signature, just phone number, email, and then also credit card. And because of my excellence in performance, they asked that I stay there past my seasonal position. And I also did really well in recovery work throughout my first 2 years of working there. And among that, I was able to be recognized above those I would also be working with and was titled Denim Lead, which basically meant that I kept denim standards by the way that I folded them, whether it be the walls or the tables. Um, Most importantly, the thing to note about why this is an issue, the case study, is that in the months of June through September of 2021, more than 50% of our associate staff had left the location because of either graduating or taking up another job. So this meant that there was less people working there, and this Old Navy specifically was one that was larger than average and needed at least 50 associates to be able to help it function the way that it should, which is consequential because there's only 23 employees here at the location. And as this continued, going into my fourth year and performing my duties as denim lead, loyalty enrollments are still stressed within our store because they drive sales, they boost our standings across the district, and it helps represent our or our general manager there at the store. So what had occurred was because I did so well in denim, and then I was also a very large performer in being able to sign people up for enrollments, be through their phone number or through a credit card. I was also asked to do both of these tasks excessively. So oftentimes I would be asked to complete a certain portion of a wall, but still asked to ring at the registers because I was the only one really getting a large amount of loyalty enrollments. And if I wasn't able to complete either or, I'm scolded because my project is left incomplete by the end of my shift. And a textbook context within this is previously mentioned. The way in which stress could be incorporated into the workplace is through common work task stressors, such as that work overload. So Reggio defines that idea as excessively asking an employee to complete their duties quickly with a sense of concentration and generating quality production of results as efficiently as possible. And these types of expectations lead to stress because the workers isn't able to keep up with the demands being asked of them. So in my situation, the asking that both the denim walls be finished and in an unreasonably short amount of time, while still expecting loyalty percentage to be high, it causes me to either sacrifice one or the other, which leads to criticism from my management team and not being able to perform well or lacking in one area. And this also affects other people within the store as well, because with the store needing at least 50 associates, but there being less than 30, a lot of more responsibilities befall other associates as well that aren't necessarily asked to do what I'm specifically doing in my denim lead position, but are performing at a heightened amount of responsibility. And again, the problem of work overload arises when the workers do not have the ability to complete what is essentially a 4-person task on their own, which then leads to increased physiological symptoms of stress, perceived stress, and then negative attitudes towards employment and working there altogether, which unfortunately can also lead to voluntary turnover because they don't want to work there, which will ultimately just continue to persist that short staff not being readily available. So empirical evidence supporting this is that across an observational study, a survey was conducted among 386 total employees as a part of a Dutch organization also working in retail, with a total of 122 teams being led through supervisors. The study sought to highlight whether there are key differences in passive and ethical leadership behaviors, which leads to noticeable employee burnout due to role overload or job ambiguity. Employees reported perceived relationships towards their supervisors held a positive correlation with negative attitudes towards working if they perceived their leaders expressed passive behaviors of leadership. The observational study demonstrated that in order for ethical forms of leadership to happen in the workplace and less burnout to occur, negligence by leaders in fulfilling their role as facilitators of both social influence should be corrected so that they actually stimulate proactive behaviors. The study suggests that promotion of ethical leadership behaviors, ones that will teach their staff when needed and actively engage with them to help solve work-related issues that might specifically be tied to that work overload. So where this can be used as a solution, concepts such as that ethical leadership are key into making sure that employees are well trained and properly managed by their leaders. And in the situation previously discussed, the origin of conflict could be tied back to there being not enough employees capable to perform well in loyalty or performing any of the duties that I would specifically be doing as a denim lead. And it might be easy to say, well, we should just hire more people. But if that isn't necessarily the case, what we could do is we can encourage leaders to make sure that they properly train pre-existing and new employees. Better performance all around could be achieved. And this can come in the form of organizational coping strategies, because as we encourage accomplishing this could be done by having the workers shadow other workers to learn how to be comfortable with performing their tasks in a way that, of course, that they're comfortable with. So they're understanding their own techniques and strengths, but also drawing from those who are performing at this level to be able to know what works and how to adjust. So these organizational coping strategies can be done at no cost to the organization itself, because it's essentially utilizing the abilities of the people already working there. If this isn't the case, there is also the ability to go to other locations.